are a few series of video games that the internet as a whole just kind of understands that the lore is complicated even without playing any of it. One such game is Kingdom Hearts. Ask anyone who's played the series to explain it to you and watch them hesitate, as they first have to explain it to themselves before they can actually explain it to you. The first game came out in 2002, and Kingdom Hearts 4 is set to be released around late 2026. And if you're thinking to yourself, how complicated can the lore of 4 games be? Oh, you sweet summer child. Over the course of 24 years, oh my god, the series of Kingdom Hearts has come out with 17 plus releases. I say plus because there was a browser game that turned into a mobile game that turned into a movie? 17 console releases. However, as intimidating as this may look at a glance, some of these are remakes and some only came out in Japan. So that 17 turns into 12, but 1.5 is just a remaster compilation of 2 PlayStation games and cutscenes from the DS release, while 2.5 is the same for 3 other games, and 2.8 is a remaster of 1 game, that movie I mentioned earlier, and another new game. So if we're going based off what releases tell each part of the story, there's only 9. Melody of Memory is just a recap as a rhythm game, so we're not really going to count that one. The first part of this video is going to be going over all the games and where they fit in the overall timeline, before we start getting into each individual game. This specific video will cover Kingdom Hearts 1, the first release game. I'll be releasing the rest as their own videos, and then finally a super long put together version with extra content. If you'd like to skip the brief series overview and the timeline explanation, go to this timestamp to skip ahead to the story of the first game, or check the chapters at the bottom of the screen or in the description. At the heart of it, I make puns, I will not apologize. The Kingdom Hearts series is a series of action role-playing games owned by the Walt Disney Company and developed and published by Square Enix. They've done games such as Nier, Life is Strange, Hitman, Tomb Raider, to name a few. The games feature some original characters, but at first it just seems like someone made a bunch of OCs and dropped them into various worlds owned by Disney, adding other characters from another popular series of action role-playing games made by Square Enix, where none of them are who they really are in the original games, and they all exist at the same time, and YRP are fairies. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. The second series I'm referring to is Final Fantasy. If you know any of the lore from those games, you disregard all that, it barely comes up. But come on, you can't tell me this doesn't just scream playable fanfic. Also, as a side note, Turtle makes sense. Donald, why? The first game, simply called Kingdom Hearts, was released in March of 2002, which makes this series over 20 years old. Anyway, despite being the first game, it's not technically the first in the series. Yes, we have an Alien Prometheus situation, a FNAF 1 and 2 situation. The game doesn't come out in chronological order is what I'm getting at. To avoid getting too complicated, I'm not going to refer to any of the remakes, because that would basically just be referring to the same game twice. However, when I do say Chain of Memories are coded, I am referring to their remakes, because those were the ones released in the US and the ones that I played. Also, to avoid me saying Kingdom Hearts 50 million times, I'm just going to say the number or the rest of the title. So we're left with, in the order they came out in the US, 1, 2, Chain of Memories, 358/2 days, Coded, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, 3, and we're not counting Memory of Melody. The only reorders are putting Birth by Sleep, a game made 7 years after the original, at the beginning of the list, and putting 358/2 days before 2, but after Chain of Memories. The games are mostly hack and slash games, where button mashing is usually a good way to progress. You can equip abilities and different spells as well as use items mid-battle. The travel gameplay is varied between games, but generally the same concept. The games also have various mini-games depending on the world you're in, because something tells me fighting in the 100-acre wood might be frowned upon. So we're going to start with Kingdom Hearts 1, because that's where we all started, and oh how naive we were. I'll preface this by saying I'm going to explain things as if this is the only knowledge that we have, because when this came out, obviously we didn't know anything else, because this was the first game and only game. I'll be doing this for the other games as well, only referring to previously released games until we actually cover the previous ones. Our main characters are Sora, a 14-year-old boy with way too much hair gel, Riku, a boy who's already going gray at 15, and Kairi, who is also 14. These 3 friends live on Destiny Islands, which is more than one island despite how they phrase it. They're building a raft because they want to travel to other worlds because, you know, they're kids and they think this tiny raft is going to get them anywhere. The reason they're convinced other worlds are even out there is because Kairi moves to town, which is the game implying this world is literally only a few islands and the rest is just ocean. She doesn't even remember her original home, so why do they assume it's another world and not just another island they don't see from theirs? Unless they're just being kids and using the word worlds to refer to other locations on their world, not understanding there actually are other worlds. Also, this is the equivalent of a new kid moving into town, making friends with 2 kids, and them all agreeing to run away together. Like, the only parent ever mentioned is Sora's mom. She has 2 lines, and she's never brought up or heard from ever again. So this world is where we first see some of Square Enix's other characters from their series Final Fantasy, another game with way too many games. However, they look and sound nothing like who they're supposed to be. They could have just as easily made up 3 new people, but they wanted someone to be like, oh hey, it's that guy from that game. Titus, who in his game doesn't even have his name spoken aloud because the player is allowed to change it, is supposed to be 17. Waka is 23 and looks like he's around Riku's age, and Selphie, who I've been calling Sophie all my life, and I've honestly never looked up who this girl is. She's from Final Fantasy VIII, so you've got 2 characters from Final Fantasy X and 10 Part 2, and 1 from 8. See what I mean by they're all from different games, but they somehow coexist? She's supposed to be 17, by the way? Their only purpose on the island is that you can train and fight them, and they're never brought up again in this game. Actually, Titus and Waka are never brought up in the series again. So the game starts with the dream that Sora's having, which acts like a tutorial, where the player makes choices that decide certain gameplay things. Namely, starting stats, the order in which you gain abilities, and how quickly you'll gain XP. So these kids build a raft, and while gathering mushrooms, because they're going to bring random mushrooms for food, yeah, these kids aren't going to make it out there. Sora goes into the secret place that isn't actually secret because he and Kairi used to play there as kids, and he and Riku used to play there as kids, but somehow they refer to it as a secret place. Side note, Kairi moves there when she's like 4 or 5. Riku talks about how her coming there gave them the idea to leave, like it was a recent thing. Anyway, Sora takes a doodle break, and there's this creepy hooded guy that somehow Sora doesn't see right away, and he's all cryptic and then just vanishes. Moving on, 2 days after gathering stuff, there's a storm over the island where the raft is, so Sora grabs a tiny boat and presumably rows over there by himself in the middle of the night. When he gets there, Riku and Kairi's boats are already there. These little shadow creatures show up, but Sora's wooden sword doesn't hurt them. Riku is standing on this little plateau menacingly, and he turns around, and now he's being all cryptic. Gets swallowed up by shadows like it's no big deal. Suddenly Sora has this giant key, and the text on screen makes sure to tell us that it's Keyblade. And hey, now we can kill little shadow things. Sora runs to the secret, not-so-secret place, and there's this door there that looks like the door from Sora's dream. He finds Kairi, and she turns around, looking like she took some of this mushroom. The door behind her opens, and she flies at Sora only to go through him. He's blown out of the little cave thing, and suddenly the island is just like a tiny island, and it's being sucked into a black hole thing, and there's the monster from his dream. He defeats it, but is sucked up into the black hole. Meanwhile, Donald and Goofy, from Disney, are in this place called Traverse Town looking for King Mickey, because he's missing, and the mouse is a king apparently. They see a star going out, which is Destiny Island's going out, because basically every world is a star, so if it's going out, it's being, destroyed. Sora somehow ends up in a back alley and gets woken up by Pluto, who we don't see until the end of the game, and no one is concerned about that. The remake shows Riku waking up in another world that we as the player don't know what it is yet, and he's presumably then found by Maleficent, because you can see her cloak right there. While wandering around, Sora somehow avoids running into the 2 people who are looking for the Keyblade, because they needed to find Mickey. Then another Final Fantasy character shows up, Leon, who is actually called Squall Leonhart? He basically attacks Sora for existing, and whether you beat him or not, Sora passes out. Leon and Yuffie explain the shadows Sora saw are called Heartless.
Those without hearts.
The darkness in people's hearts. That's what attracts them.
But they literally are not without hearts. Even if it's not told to us, it's shown. When Sora kills them, the hearts actually get released. So, the heart is in them. They're not heartless. But for some reason, Heartless like turning other people into Heartless because of the darkness that's in their hearts. Leon tells Sora the Heartless are afraid of the Keyblade, so they'll keep attacking Sora because he has it. They also make a point to show us that only Sora can use it because he's the chosen one. Also, in the next room over, Aerith is explaining this to Donald and Goofy, and they just somehow don't hear each other. Long story short, Sora meets up with Donald and Goofy. They all agree to travel together because they need the Keyblade to find the king, and Sora needs a way to look for Riku and Kairi. Oh, and Jiminy Cricket is basically going to journal everything because, he's there. What follows is the trio going to various Disney-owned worlds, defeating Heartless and using the Keyblade on the keyholes of each world. Meanwhile, all the major villains of these worlds, though not all of them because no one wants to deal with Queen of Hearts, are all plotting to get the Keyblade from Sora, one of which is Maleficent, who is basically gaslighting Riku into thinking that Sora's got new friends and isn't looking for him and Kairi anymore. Also meanwhile, Disney princesses are being kidnapped. They're also referred to as Princesses of Heart, like Jasmine, Belle, Aurora, Snow White, Cinderella, Alice. I'm sorry, is Alice actually considered a Disney princess? Or did they just realize they couldn't give Ariel legs and needed someone to take her place? Because Ariel's in this game. She is an option. So anyway, Sora goes through all of these worlds to defeat the bosses and the villains, seals the keyholes, and somehow each princess is kidnapped anyways. Along the way, they occasionally run into Riku, and we the players are shown that Riku is the one doing all the princess napping. Once in Neverland, it's shown that Riku now has Kairi, who's in a coma for some reason. They finally get to Hollow Bastion, and Beast, who is looking for Belle, is fighting Riku. Riku somehow steals the Keyblade, and because Sora no longer has it, Donald and Goofy just go with Riku. Instead, Beast joins the party, and can I just say that Beast is the only one who's looking so hard for his princess? That he's gone to another world for her? I mean, yeah, their world got destroyed, but the other princesses haven't done anything. Anyway, Riku's going through a phase now, and Beast gets tricked by a fake Belle. Donald and Goofy show up again. Goofy, the only one of the 2 who hesitated at first, by the way, blocks Riku from killing his best friend before Donald also joins. The way Sora gets his Keyblade back is his whole, "My friends are my power." But they were just willing to ditch you because you didn't have the Keyblade. Goofy at least hesitated, but still. Anyway, they fight Riku, he loses. For some reason, he also loses his outfit, and he just runs off. The hooded guy from the very beginning shows up, basically taunts Riku for losing, and convinces him to open himself to the darkness, because that's a great idea. Next time we the player see Riku, he's back in his edgy look, and his voice is doing a weird second puberty thing, which obviously is meant to show us that he's now properly evil, and or the hooded guy is possessing him. And he has his own Keyblade to match his outfit, which kind of undermines the whole Keyblade being a unique thing that only Sora can use. They don't specifically say there's only one Keyblade in the universe, but they have been heavily implying it up until this point. They're trying to open the door to darkness, and Maleficent is angry because all the Princesses of Heart are there, so why isn't the thing opening? Oh yeah, Kairi is also apparently a Princess of Heart? I don't know. Riku says he can't release her power because she doesn't have her heart. Also, the hearts are in the Keyblade somehow. Anyway, Sora and the others find Maleficent, fight her. Riku then shows up. Sora sees he is a Keyblade, and Riku just turns on Maleficent, who's then turned into a dragon that Sora has to fight. Side note, Dragon Maleficent is so much easier than Lady Maleficent. So Sora finds Kairi, who's in a coma or something because she lost her heart, which is somehow in Sora. I guess when she flew at him and went through him at the beginning of the game, that the heart went into him? Then how does she have a body when that one guy in Traverse Town? You know what? Never mind. Let's move on. The only way for Kairi to get her heart back is for Sora to basically commit spook. He uses the Keyblade on himself, which releases the hearts back to the princesses, including Kairi's. She wakes up, and oh no, he's gone forever. This Ansem guy shows up, fully possessing Riku's body that he made to look like his own now. Riku fights back and gives Kairi and the others a chance to escape. As they run away, it shows this single little heartless dude that we then get to play as because it's Sora. He follows the three and obviously doesn't attack them. Kairi hugs him and he's just now back because love? Yeah, sure, let's go with that. So yay, Kairi is saved, but Riku is still possessed, and there's a keyhole to seal. But before they seal the keyhole first, you know, the thing that's causing most of this shit, Kairi's brought back to Traverse Town, and then she gives Sora her good luck charm that she was making at the beginning of the game. The trio goes back to Hollow Bastion to seal the keyhole to darkness, but first have to fight a behemoth, which isn't that hard, and we end up fighting like 4 more of these at some point. After defeating it, the Final Fantasy peeps from Traverse Town are suddenly here, so they go back to talk to them first. Leon basically tells them that once they do this, the worlds will go back to being how they were, which are separated, and
We may never meet again, but we'll never forget each other.
the three seal the keyhole and travel to the end of the world, which is a world, where they basically fight through a mini-stage of each world they've been to before fighting the freaking demon from Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia. Anyway, they get to the end, and they're on what looks like Destiny Island. Riku's there, he's fully hit puberty. I'm kidding. At this point, Riku's gone. We see a scene before this that wasn't in the original game, where Riku wakes up somewhere and hears a voice that tells him his heart won the battle, but his body was lost. Riku, quote-unquote, turns into Ansem, the hooded guy, who's now basically possessing Riku's body. Then comes a super long multi-phase boss battle which ends with Sora opening Kingdom Hearts, which is the door, and it's light. So Ansem gets blasted. Yippee, good guys win. But now they have to close the door because there's a lot of Heartless on the other side. As they're closing it, magically Riku's there to help from the other side because that's where he woke up, on the other side of the door. Now, I played this before they added that new cutscene, so I never understood this as a kid. Like, just come onto the other side and help push us so you're not trapped. Sora has no hesitation either. He doesn't know this. But it's through that cutscene that we're told basically Riku lost his body to Ansem, and this is essentially just his heart, so he technically can't go on the other side. It's also revealed that this door has to be closed from both sides because it has to be sealed from both sides, which is just not how doors work, but okay. Suddenly King Mickey shows up to help, and he also has a Keyblade. Alright, so the door's closed, we see some flashbacks, and suddenly Kairi's there. Basically what's happening is all the worlds are being restored, so they're all becoming disconnected again, which is how they were before all of this started. That's basically the end. They promise to find each other again. Kairi's returned to Destiny Islands, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy are just kinda wandering. Which leads us directly to the next game in the timeline, Chain of Memories. But not the next game that came out. Like I said during the timeline explanation, in the US, Chain of Memories remake didn't come out until after Kingdom Hearts 2. But both those, however, are going to be in a different video. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.